NBA Finals about to wrap up. NBA offseason news about to heat up, and we are pleased to be joined by Matt Barnes of the LA Clippers alongside Amani Toomer, Eitan Shander. Matt, we appreciate the time tonight.
Thank you guys for having me.
Well, I know there's a lot of things going on, a lot of storylines with L.A., be it the Lakers, Clippers, always news, but there's something going on that's close to your heart that you're involved with, the Fight for Mike golf tournament. If you can tell us a little bit about that before we get into anything else, please.
Yeah, the Fight for Mike is something I just jumped on maybe 4 days ago. My best friend works at a warehouse in Sacramento, and Mike happened to be the UPS deliverer that delivers supplies to them, a couple times a week, and they became close friends. And my friend found out that Mike had leukemia, and it rapidly advanced, and he's constantly in and out of the hospital now, and that they were having a tournament at the end of July in Sacramento, and wondering if I can, help. Playing it or help, and so I kind of jumped on board. Got Bobby Jackson, who's a former king, and then get in contact with some kings that are out there right now, just to kind of see, on this whim, if we can get as much, attention to the cause as possible. My foundation is going to get involved and donate money to his cause. So, really, kind of a last minute thing that I want to jump on. I want to be a part. I want to help change and see if we can raise some awareness for Mike.
How much? I know you said it's only a matter of days, but how much headway have you made? I know social media is gigantic. Have you guys been able to make an impact as far as get the word out?
I just started tweeting today about it, the flyer, and information about the Four Sons and who to contact. And then I have a couple interviews with some Sacramento radio stations next week to kind of to blow it up and make a headway out there. But really just calling friends and former players that play out there that still may be out there to just see if we can, raise awareness and raise some money for a great cause.
Now, there's a lot going on with the Clippers, the trade that supposedly was about to happen that didn't happen. As a team, as a person on that team, what does it feel like to see all this turmoil go on? I know the NBA, there's a lot of things that go on all the time, so probably nothing surprises you. But what do you think about what Doc Rivers would have brought to the Clippers?
This is the first and foremost. Being a former football player, this is a business, and professional sports is strictly business. So, hearing stuff constantly, having your name involved. Sometimes I wasn't involved in this, but in the past, and just coming from hanging out with DeAndre Jordan, the centerpiece of all of this, it's been interesting. And it's a business. You develop friendships, and bonds, but the team usually tries to do what's best for them. And, that's something I was trying to explain to him. Being a younger player, you can't hold it against him because at the end of the day, it's a business. So, nothing surprised me. Doc is a great coach. I'm sure he would have brought, a tremendous experience, winning a final as a player, winning finals as a coach. But, unfortunately, things didn't work out. So we'll have to see what happens.
So, Matt, what do you when you talk to DeAndre, what do you say to him, and what kind of mood is he in? Because, hey, it has to be very trying for a young player who thinks that, when you're young, you think you're going to be on the same team your whole entire career.
Yeah.
And how do you get him to realize that it's not a personal attack on him or his playing ability?
It's something I constantly do. He's kind of my younger guy that I look out for, along with a few other guys, and really just explaining my situation. Me coming in the NBA early on, I had a bad attitude, and I bounced around, and, things didn't go my way. I was on the verge of being out, got a great season with the Golden State, and I've been playing ever since. But it's just a business, so you have to conduct yourself the right way. Even though you're hearing your name in trades, you got to continue to work hard. You got to continue just to prove doubters wrong and really kind of just turn the shoulder, and which is hard to do in LA because it's everywhere. So, really just to stay focused and continue to grow as a player, and, whatever happens is going to happen, but you got to continue to stay professional.
Matt Barnes joining us, Amani and Eitan on NBC Sports Radio. Throughout the end of the season and really into the offseason before Coach Del Negro got fired, through that, Chris Paul, at least publicly, didn't say anything, and then comes out and says, hey, if you make a trade for KG and Doc Rivers, I'd re-sign. Were you kind of shocked that Chris made a public statement after being so reserved and quiet, at least publicly, this whole time?
To tell you the truth, I really haven't been following anything in the media lately.
Smart move.
It's just that there's so much turmoil going on. Not necessarily turmoil, but just words, this and that in the finals. And so I've kind of really just been relaxing and focusing on working out and hanging out with my family. But I never even knew Chris, to tell you the truth, said that. I know he didn't want to be a part of the situation initially, is from what I heard. So, I kind of just stuck with what I heard from him and really kind of didn't listen to anything else.
Yeah, Matt, kind of out of deductive reasoning, they figured that the reason why Vinny Del Negro, because people are trying to make sense of it. They don't understand why a guy who won the Pacific Division would get fired after such a successful season, even though, the playoffs didn't turn out the way that the Clippers wanted. But so how fair is it or unfair is it, the fact that Chris Paul's name is being dragged through the mud, that he had some sort of something to do with the fact that Vinny Del Negro got fired?
I think it's very unfair. Like I said, with the players, it's a business. With the coaches, it's a business. I think, for as long as I can remember, 4 or 5, 6 coaches getting fired, 4 or 5 coaches getting fired that had career records. Lionel Hollins, George Karl, Vinny Del Negro being one. Guys that made the playoffs and set franchise records and went to the Western Conference Finals and did a lot of things. And, at the end of the day, things didn't work out. I think management on teams, not knowing what they think, because I'm a player, I keep myself out of that. They always want to feel, they feel they always want to improve. And to say today's society, it's sad. It's not like it was in the 90s where teams stick together, coaches stick on the same team, and you kind of just build things together. Now stuff, if they don't like anything, they get you out. And, that's the society we're in today, and it's tough for players and coaches.
Why do you think that is? I mean, why do you think that there's so many people moving around when there has been success at these different teams that they've played on, that they were coaching on, excuse me?
I just think with players and coaches, everyone's trying to buy teams now. You see superstars head a certain direction and get on one team, and, coaches are involved and coaches are constantly moving. It's just such a business now. We were just talking about this a little while ago. This isn't the 90s anymore where, one team can stay together for 10 years and build and work through your draft. Now people are trying to buy, and if you don't produce, you're gone. And that's sadly the way we live, so there's no real, the teams like San Antonio don't come around too often anymore. So
yeah, I was thinking about the Spurs when you said that.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said. I just saw some on SportsCenter about Tim Duncan and Popovich having that connection because they've been with each other for 16 years. That's very unheard of these days, and you see that kind of stuff still works. But in this society, we just live in a different society today. So,
Matt Barnes, our guest, Amani and Eitan. You played in L.A. for the Clip Show when they were bad. And you, this past year, I know after speaking with you a couple times this offseason, how special it was for you to see the turnaround in the city. Now, as you mentioned, this is a business. But how important is it for you to return to be a Clipper next year?
I think it's very important. It's something that I've stressed to my agent. But at the same time, I need to be paid. I've had don't get me wrong, I've had a tremendous, career up to this point as far as being able to play 11 years and play a sport. You get paid a lot of money, but, I've been doing payday for a while. And I think, through my minutes this year and when I showed the league and what I showed everybody, that I'm ready for big games, I'm ready for the playoffs, I'm ready for whatever it takes. I can't keep getting these minimum contracts. So, I definitely want to return it to the Clippers, but they know that, they're going to have to, increase my salary, to at least, match the guys that my numbers are against, because, for years I've been the lowest paid, most productive player in the NBA, and that's getting kind of old for me.
Man, that's frustrating, for sure. I'm not going to ask you to speculate on this because it would be nonsense, and the media does enough of this, but I was shocked that Blake Griffin's name would even be brought up in any type of business talks because of what he means to the new Clippers. Can you speak a little bit about that as far as knowing what it was like when things weren't so good for the Clippers and now having a guy who packs the house every night because you never know what he's going to do on the court?
It makes you laugh, but, it happens. You got to think, was it 7 years ago when Kobe was almost, they talked about Kobe leaving, and sometimes, like I said, this is not the 80s and the 90s no more. Franchise players, move around, and it's tough. It's mind-boggling sometimes, but it's almost no player, for the Clippers to get Chris Paul. Chris Paul's a franchise player. Guys bounce around like that, so it's crazy to hear, but like I said, we're in a different kind of social media society these days, and it's crazy.
Speaking of which, social media, I know that you're busy on it, and you have been the last couple of days. If you can tell us one more time about the Fight for Mike golf tournament, and also how people can either contact you via social media or any other way to be a part of this.
The Fight for Mike golf tournament, it will be June 30th at Wood Creek Golf Course in Sacramento. For more details and information, you can look at my Twitter, Matt_Barnes22. I posted a flyer and more contact information, who to contact and emails to contact. And, hopefully, somewhat, even though to Northern California, people out here can reach out and help. And I also have a basketball camp July 27th to August 2nd in the Bay Area, EA Sports, and you can go to mattbarnesbasketballcamp.com for more information about that.
Thanks for the time, Matt, and good luck on that payday, man. You made a hell of a case this year for it.
Thanks a lot, Matt.